Good morning, everyone, and happy Transgender Day of Visibility. My name is Winston Cornelius Sanders, and I am a proud transgender man and the program director at Gender Benders. I use he, him, and they, them pronouns. Trans Day of Visibility is an annual celebration of trans lives. It's a time for us to center the voices and experiences of transgender people. It's a moment for the trans community to speak out and share our stories, and remember that we are beautiful, resilient, and strong. We all have unique hopes and dreams, and we are all worthy of love and dignity and respect. Today we are here to talk about a wave of anti-transgender legislation, including a bill that targets young transgender girls for exclusion from school sports. The bill advanced in the South Carolina House and will be discussed today in the Full House Education Committee. We'll talk about this bill, but I want to start by making one thing clear. There are so many more stories about transgender people than the stories about these bills that try to target us and bring us down. Transgender people are more than the violence and oppression that extreme lawmakers push at us. We are more than the offensive conversations that obsess over our bodies. We are more than the disproportionate mental health struggles that are brought on by the constant threat of oppressive policies. I am tired of being defined by these forces trying to bring us down. I want lawmakers to know that no one and no thing, not even women's sports, needs to be saved from transgender people. We are simply trying to live authentic, full lives. Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Melissa Moore. I use they and them pronouns. I am non-binary, and I'm the Lowcountry manager of Women's Rights and Empowerment Network. I live in Charleston. I've lived there for all my life. I want to take a moment to recap what happened yesterday in the K-12 subcommittee hearing. More than a dozen advocates for transgender equality shared powerful testimony about the ways that discriminatory bills harm the mental health of youth, and why this particular bill is unnecessary. Following that testimony, anti-trans forces spoke in favor of the bill. In doing so, they misgendered trans people and used anti-transgender slurs. In response, the trans and non-binary people in the subcommittee hearing walked out. These bills attacking transgender community are already disrespectful attempts to legislate us out of existence. Yesterday, our opponents and extremist lawmakers added insult to injury by dead-naming, misgendering, and using slurs to demonize our community. On the day before Transgender Day of Transgender Day of Visibility, trans and non-binary South Carolinians refused to be disrespected and walked out of the hearing. That is an act of radical self-care and radical community care. I am proud of our team for that. But here we are again, returning to the State House to fight for transgender youth, because we love our community and will work against attacks at any cost. I want to be sure to emphasize one thing. That bill is unnecessary and is only an attempt from extremist lawmakers to posture as conservative. I serve on the advisory committee for a trans inclusion policy with the South Carolina High School League. And here in South Carolina, this policy is working. It provides a path to participation for trans young people while also ensuring a level playing field. Let's be clear, a small percentage of people identify as transgender, less than 1%. Not all of them are interested in playing sports. And even fewer of them are elite level. Each trans student requires individual personal attention on a case-by-case basis. Schools can and do work with the South Carolina High School League and the students and teams directly involved to figure out a pathway forward. Why are we trying to mess something up that's already working? I implore lawmakers to stop this attack on transgender youth and
Hi everyone, my name is Amberlyn Boiter. I am the Vice President of PFLAG Spartanburg. I use she, her pronouns. I've been proud to come here to the State House day after day and speak up for transgender dignity and equality, and speak out against a barrage of stigmatizing, discriminatory bills. been really challenging few months for transgender people across the country. The stories of affirming parents being investigated and quote-unquote child abuse in Texas were heartbreaking. As a parent, I found the passage of a bill in Florida that tells third graders that they're not allowed to talk about LGBTQ people is dispiriting. And the wave of anti-transgender student sports bills has been overwhelming. We faced our own version of this kitchen sink discrimination slate here in South Carolina, a sports bill and a curriculum bill, but also abortion restrictions and healthcare discrimination in an attempt to stop local cities from protecting children from conversion therapy. As lawmakers continue to push these attacks, I want us to remember that in South Carolina, we've been having this debate about transgender children in sports for about 2.5 years. In that time, we've learned a lot of things. We've learned that we already have reasonable policies in place that protect transgender youth while ensuring a level playing field for everyone. The South Carolina High School League policy is working. The NCAA's guidelines related to transgender students participating in sports are working. We do not need to legislate this issue because blanket bans on transgender students playing sports undermines local efforts. South Carolina's Superintendent of Education, Molly Spearman, called into a committee hearing just last year and urged lawmakers to stop bills like these, that we don't need them here. We've also learned that just a few lawmakers are relentless in their pursuit of this bill and bills like it. Our community has successfully urged legislators to defeat this bill 6 separate times in 2021, but anti-transgender forces just keep opposing it. And finally, we've heard so much moving testimony from transgender people, including you, about the real damage these bills have on the mental health of transgender youth. A study from the Trevor Project found that 94% of LGBTQ youth said that recent politics, which includes bills like these, have negatively impacted their mental health. And when we look at the rates of attempted suicide among LGBTQ young people, we see that 42% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year, including more than half of transgender and non-binary youth. Yet in the face of these statistics, our legislators coldly vote to continue hurting us. We should be pulling every alarm available and doing everything we can to make life better for these vulnerable young people. And that includes blocking any transgender legislation like this. There are so many reasons to oppose this bill, and I can't think of a single good reason to support it. So today, once again, we'll be here to urge lawmakers to vote no, and I hope they will listen. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ivy Hill. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the Executive Director of Gender Benders and the Community Health Program Director at the Campaign for Southern Equality. When we launched the SC United for Justice and Equality Coalition, we made it our mission to get transgender and queer voices and the voices of people who love and support us in the State House. We wanted lawmakers to hear from us directly, so that when they vote on discriminatory legislation, they can't say that they've never met a transgender person. You know, today is Trans Day of Visibility, and this has been such a long and difficult session this year and last year, but we continue to find ways to find joy and share space with each other. And I think that that's so important, and I just couldn't be more proud of my community, and there's really nobody who I would rather share this day with than these folks who I'm here with today. I'm so proud of every trans and queer person who has taken the time and summoned the courage to share their story and speak out in South Carolina. Today, on Trans Day of Visibility, I want to celebrate everyone who's been visible in this very specific way, fighting against discriminatory legislation again and again and again. Trans people in South Carolina have been more visible at the State House than ever before, and we're making an impact. We're not going to be silenced or erased or pushed aside by extreme lawmakers who say they don't understand us or don't care about us. We're going to continue to show up. We're going to continue educating them about our lives and our identities. We're going to refuse to be pushed away. We are going to be visible today and every single day. So I just really want to thank every trans person in South Carolina and beyond for being visible be continuing to show up. So thank you so much for being here. That concludes this part of the presser. Thanks, y'all.